We are going to talk about putting together a medical kit on the cheap, on the expensive, and the absolute positive invaluable. Be sure to listen for all three segments. Okay, we are not talking about toolboxes today, except just a little bit. We're just talking about toolboxes a little bit today. What we actually are talking about is putting together a medical kit on the cheap. Okay, couple things. One thing you want to think about is the container you want to keep it in. You don't just want stuff sprawled all over the place. If you need to rush to an emergency situation, let's say you're at your home and somebody, whether it's in your garage, in your woods, in your garden, somewhere on your property that isn't right smack there, has an issue, you need to get to them, and you need to get to them quick, and you want to be able to just pick something up and go. Okay. The other thing is, in my opinion, you might want to have two medical kits. One that is specifically for your home, the people of your household, and that's what it's for, period. The other, maybe a smaller kit that you would go ahead and put together, that you determine ahead of time that this is the stuff I'm willing to share and help people with. And if I have a neighbor that's in need, or a friend, or somebody I can get to, that you have, but you keep very limited supplies in here. It only takes one mouth of somebody that just mentions to somebody else what it is that you have. So, you keep what you might need for your visit in this bag. Okay. This is simply just a very, very well made purse that I picked up at a thrift store, that really the only wear from it would be for me, because it, like, brand new. I paid $5 for it specifically for this purpose. As far as the toolboxes, I went to a flea market, and I'm always looking out for anything, not always just something in particular. I might have a list of things I'd like to find. And then I'm always keeping my eye open for things that might be useful in difficult times. And I knew I wanted to put together a medical kit for my home, and a smaller one that I would use to help others. Okay. So what had happened is there was a man there at the flea market that said that his two children, every Father's Day, each buy him a new toolbox, and that he does not need a new toolbox twice a year. And so he said he's usually swimming in them. So he gave me a very nice deal on a couple of them. And I thought that would be a perfect thing to put a medical kit in. Generally more durable than a pre-made medical kit. And you can certainly put one together for a lot less than you're going to buy a put together medical kit for. Another thing would be maybe a tackle box, but it's not going to be as big as a toolbox. I wanted to show you some of the things that you might consider putting in here. And of course, your particular medical situation and your location and things like, you could have a child with a skin irritation that it just would be something soothing. It's not expensive, not a must either. But a definite thing you want is a good pair of scissors. Along with that, you want to think along the lines of, what are you going to use those scissors for? Of course, you could have to cut clothing off of somebody, but something you might want in your medical kit would be like a white pillowcase, or a white um, twin sheet, flat sheet, or a piece of one that you have bleached. That's as clean as possible. Maybe go ahead and put it in some type of a zipper bag in there, in case you need to use that for binding, or in case you need to make some type of sling, or if you need to use a piece of it for a tourniquet where you need to cut it. But to have that in there, that's something good to have in your kit. Now, in these top portions up on the top of the toolbox, I keep, so I go to Dollar Tree. A lot, not everything, but a lot of the things I have in here are from Dollar Tree. A lot of the things, tubes of things, they are going to come in a package like this. But when they're in my kit, I take them out of the package to save space. So in here, we have anti-itch cream. Oh, anti-itch cream. Hydrocortisone, which is a steroid cream. This, I think, is the most important thing to have in here, as far as these tubes, is triple antibiotic. And I would load up on lots of this. And the Dollar Tree, in my opinion, is the cheapest place to get it, especially when you're using it in your, if you're putting together a bag to go and help others, because you want small tubes, and you want to be really careful to not contaminate the bottle to where you squeeze out a piece, you never put it right on the wound or anything like that. More of the oral analgesic. And I mean, if things are tough and you can't get to a dentist, tooth pain can be horrendous. So that's something good to have. We'll open this up. So I'll go and get the fabric bandages. They do sell fabric bandages at Dollar Tree, but the shrinkflation is always in place, so it might not be the same amount. But what I tend to do is look for the size box I want to fit in the space that I have in my medical kit. And then I'll also buy, say, a couple of these, and often I'll find that sometimes you can fit 2 boxes of them inside of 1 box to kind of be good and supplied, but save space. Sometimes that will work out. One thing, well, and also these are the fabric kind, and those are much better. The ones that aren't fabric, you almost have to have a piece of tape to get it to stay on. Aspirin, crucial, must have. If somebody is having signs and symptoms of a myocardial infarction / heart attack, chewing on an aspirin can greatly reduce the issue to the heart, the injury to the heart. So having these, now one thing you want, this is one of the things that you do want to keep an eye on the expiration date, not because it would hurt you, but because the consistency changes. If you open it up, just take a smell inside. If it smells like vinegar, it's time to replace it. Okay. But this is a must have. Now, another thing is the 81 milligram aspirin. And this is more of a daily dose type thing. But it's something good to have. I like to have acetaminophen and ibuprofen, because you have people they could be more prone to having a liver issue or a kidney issue where one would be better for them than the other. And they're going to know which one they need. So in that situation, what I generally do is, for my kit, I go get the bigger bottles at a bigger store, and I'll open 2 bottles and fill it as much as I can, so that I will have more than the 200 or whatever it says on the bottle. But in my kit to take somewhere, I'll go to Dollar Tree and get one of the small bottles. I'll actually get a couple of them and put in there what will fit in that bottle. Dollar Tree also sells these elastic bandages, so I like to put a couple of those in there. Now, this is something Dollar Tree I used to see in there all the time, and I haven't seen it for a while. So I don't know if it's something that sometimes they have it and sometimes they don't, whether you get it there or somewhere else. This temporary Tempident Dent Tech, to where if somebody's filling falls out and it's rough times, can't get to a dentist, can't afford a dentist, the office isn't it, whatever the case may be, this will really prolong some time for you, and really good to have on hand. This is zinc ointment. Can be used for a number of things. If you have like an excoriated area, just think of diaper rash, but even adults, if they get an excoriated area, this is really good to treat something like that and have in your kit. This box, this didn't come like this, okay? This box, I have Q-tips, gauze, and cotton balls. And something like this would be really, really good to have in your small kit as well. So we have some medical tape, just what you don't want to see, but this is actually important. If you're dealing with medical stuff, if you're assisting anyone, whether it's from your own home or outside of the home, if someone has an open wound, you don't want to be breathing on it to introduce additional bacteria into the situation. Or if you go to help someone else at their house, and maybe you walk in and you have a concern that they may have something contagious, you can always hand one of these and ask them to place it on, or step outside and give what's needed to a different member of the family. But I would keep some of these in your kit. gloves, gloves, and more gloves. Definitely highly recommend having these in your kit. Tums, it sounds simple, but in rough times, just a few creature comforts can help. I also like to keep some rubbing alcohol, hydrogen peroxide. Both of these were from Dollar Tree. Just a few of the things. There are many things that you could have in your kit. Another thing I recommend having in here is some sterile water, some hand sanitizer. Medical kits on the expensive. These are some other items you might consider, you might not. Both considering medical and dental. For medical, these items were for the most part purchased on Amazon. You might consider New Skin, the liquid bandages. You might consider Steri strips, which is a way to pull together, and it basically kind of tapes from one side to the other when you pull together a laceration. Medical stapler and staple remover. These are things for emergency use only. Obviously, I haven't used it. I don't want to use it, but it's good to have on hand if we're ever in a crisis situation where medical help, not just if medical help is difficult, but if the supplies aren't there for the hospitals. In addition to that, you can purchase on Amazon these small suture kits. They're sterile. And let's see here. Another thing is for dental. I found this, you don't need a prescription for it. It is topical anesthetic cream. Topical anesthetic cream. It's kind of like what the dentist would put in your mouth before they give you the shot. You really need the shot. But in a crisis situation, you're going to be glad for what you've got. And then these are the really hard things that we don't want to talk about or think about. But for dental, you can purchase various equipment for if you ever had to pull a tooth. You don't want to have to do that. You really, if something's abscess, it needs antibiotic. Abscess tooth can actually lead to death. Another thing I like to have on hand, I picked this up, actually I picked up a couple of them marked down in case the people I invited, if they were to ever come to my home in a crisis situation, if any of them showed up with lice, they would only have to live in their cars until this was effective. Just kidding. Love you, my family. But we're going to move on to, we talked about a medical kit on the cheap. We talked about some of the expensive things to consider. And of course, your own personal situation is stuff to consider. But what I want to talk about what I think is crucial. And I'm going to show you this little board that I made. But there is a company called Jace Medical, Jace medical.com. It is where you would go online. You would have a doctor's appointment with a medical doctor, a virtual appointment, teledoc type thing. And they would do, have your appointment online, and then you can ask them for emergency backup supplies of the medications that you're on. And then what is also that I would consider to be a really big deal is what they call a JACE case. JACE space CASE. In the JACE case is 5 antibiotics for emergency use. It is expensive. However, I literally just in the last couple of weeks had to purchase an antibiotic for a tooth, and I do expect you to respect my HIPAA privacy with that. Anyway, so it was $72. I believe this 5 antibiotic pack, including the doctor visit, the virtual visit online, I think it's I hate to guess, but I want to say it's like $259. If I'm wrong, and if somebody knows, you're welcome to put it in the comments. I looked them up online before getting on here, and it doesn't say right on there, but I've seen several people talk about this, and I'm finding that not a lot of people know about it unless they follow things about being prepared for difficult times. I'm requesting that you look them up, pray about it, and make a decision. I don't want anyone hurting. Thanks for hanging out.